talk about more breaking news that's just coming in a wave of election-related violence, intimidation, alleged vote buying incidents also being reported across Bangladesh, highlighting a tense electoral climate. In the meanwhile, crude bomb explosions near polling centers in Gopalganj have raised safety concerns. Law enforcement and the army say they're acting to maintain order, but the scattered incidents reflect ongoing challenges to ensure a peaceful and fair election. We will be going over to our guest joining us this morning, Asif bin Ali, geopolitical analyst, doctoral fellow, Georgia State University, US. But first, I do want to bring in my colleague Siddhant Mishra into the conversation. Siddhant, worryingly, elections being held under the shadow of alleged violence, voter fraud. Overall, the law and order situation not looking quite good. What's the latest that you can bring to us?
The incidents reflects a troubling mix of cash for votes, scheme intimidation and outright violence across multiple districts. In fact, there have been more than 9 lakh law enforcement personnel deployed all over Bangladesh to make sure that that the polling goes peaceful. But before I toss back to you, I would also like to highlight some of the incidents which took place in last 24 hours. In fact, these inputs we have gathered from our sources in Dhaka. So, the violence is struck in Bogura area of Bangladesh. In Khulna 5 constituency, allegations of voter intimidation emerged. In Old Dhaka, Jamaat leader Muhammad Habib was arrested for allegedly distributing money to voters. A mobile court sentenced him to 2 days in jail. Authorities also seized 15 lakh taka from a vehicle belonging to a Krishak Dal leader in Lakshmipur. In Shahastipur's Naria Upzila, joint forces detained a local Jamaat leader with 7.5 lakh taka and a laptop, according to the reports. Now, according to the unrest, 2 crude bombs exploded near polling centers in Gopalganj, raising concern about the voter safety. So, definitely, it's going to be a challenging day for the law enforcement authorities in Bangladesh, and authorities are making sure that elections go peaceful. But perhaps these incidents reflect the kind of money flow, the muscle might that is on display in these elections. Back to you.
Right, Siddhant, thank you so much for that. Also joining us, geopolitical analyst Asif bin Ali. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast this morning. Sir, of course, a wave of election-related violence. We're already seeing reports emerge of allegations of ballot stuffing. What's your assessment of where things stand right now? Do you see this election as a referendum?
Well, both the election and the referendum, it has both things, a risk and a hope. So the accusations that we are just hearing, these are part of the risk, and these risks are present on the ground. Some of the incidents that shows like Jamaat leaders, have found carrying money and bribing it to the voters. And also some of the BNP leaders have been found as well. I cannot just blame one party. But proportionately speaking, the more criticism is coming about the Jamaat's intention to intervene in the free and fair process of the elections. Now, that is the risk part. Now, the hopeful part is that if, like, we cannot outrightly tell it right now, but it would, like, in next 24 hours, it would be decided whether the election would be credible or not. And if the election remains credible and fairly 60 to 70% turnout happens, then that would be a possible way and solution for Bangladesh to end this transition period and start a democratic government under an elected and politically legitimate government. So that's a very big move forward. Now, right now, this is, of course, hanging between this hope and the risk. And next 24 hours will tell whether hope will prevail or the risk will prevail. However, I see that government is trying their best, as well as civil society, journalist community, that the election should remain free and fair. But there are elements which may not work accordingly as well.
Yeah. And the gentleman we just heard through Pallavi was also of the opinion that there should be a vote for change or for stability. So one's really hoping for that. Before I come to you, Mr. Ali, I want to bring in Pallavi into the conversation once again. Pallavi, you've been speaking to people there. There's also been a lot of fear around minority vote and how minorities are going to vote. Are they feeling safe to step out, really cast their vote, speak their mind? What's the sense that you're getting?
So there are at least 10 to 12 pocket areas where there are large number of Hindu minorities in Dhaka alone, Christine. There are concerns that in those areas either there's massive rigging which is going to take place and a lot of pressure coming in from the Jamaat, or even if the voters are going to go out and vote, because no one wants to be marked, no one wants to be noticed as not turning up to vote. So one of their strategies is, and which is something which someone told me yesterday also when I went to file a ground report, was that we'll go and cast a vote, but we want to go in for an option of not voting for anyone. So we'll pretend as if we have voted. So that is also a part of their strategy. Later in the day, Christina, I certainly will go back to the same area. There are 2 schools which are going to have a voting station. That is where many Jamaat leaders have been kind of menacing and threatening. So I'll see whether on the ground the voter turnout has been low. But for the BNP and the Jamaat, it is very important to send out this message that it's going to be an inclusive Bangladesh that they're going to be voting for. But easier said than done. Lots of things are said at the time of around elections, Christine. We'll have to wait to see what really happens on the ground. Reports coming in from across Bangladesh, Khulna, Chittagong, for example, which also has a sizable polarization of the population, which will be the benchmark or a litmus test on how free and fair these elections are.
Okay, how free and fair the elections are. Hey, I want to quickly bring in Mr. Ali and then you can take the conversation forward. Mr. Ali, how optimistic are you really with what is on the table here? So if we just look at the political stakeholders concerned, the BNP versus the Jamaat, that's the big contest here. Awami League pretty much out of the picture. But these 2 faces representing these 2 alliances have not in the past served as member of parliament. So how optimistic are you really about the political future overall in Bangladesh, even if we're way past, conducting successful elections in the country?
Look, I think followed by this election, Bangladesh will walk towards relative peace. I would be using the word relative peace because absence of Awami League would create a kind of question at some point regarding this election. However, also it's because there were contexts that Awami League were banned from participating in this election. Now, both the BNP and Jamaat, BNP has the long experience of governing the country, whereas Jamaat was always a side character in the Bangladesh politics. But this is the first time they have become one of the protagonists and competing one of the biggest party of Bangladesh, while another biggest party of Bangladesh is left out of the elections. But then let's look at the reality. The reality is right now Bangladesh is governed by a very weak interim government. And yes, the government had some mandate because it came out of uprising, but however, the mandate is not that much that it can bring back stability in the country. And Bangladesh cannot be governed without the political structure. It's like military tried to rule the Bangladesh and they failed it because they understood that Bangladesh is a country that can only be governed by a larger political structure. And from that perspective, of course, if whoever wins the election, out of free and fair process, they will get that legitimacy and to use the state capacity and the power and to resources to bring back the stability. But Awami League question will remain one of the central question in the upcoming future politics of Bangladesh. Now, it also depends who is going in the opposition. Now, you see, Islamist has a significant power right now on the ground. If they secure a significant number of seats in the parliament, and if they decide that they would not be a responsible opposition, but will take more of a provocative opposition, that would also create another trouble. On the other hand, BNP, if they win, because most of the surveys are suggesting that they might win, if they win and if they fail to provide good governance and also take the challenge of the economic struggles that the country is going through, then of course they would also face a similar kind of situation and challenges that Awami League faced a couple of years ago. So the situation is, I would not say it's a very optimistic, but I would say that this is a way forward. Now, it depends on where do you look. I would prefer on solutions instead of just sitting down and doing nothing.
Well, the immediate worry, of course, is just moving past this one phase wherein a lot of reports of violence, of vote fraud are coming to the fore. So let's see what the next few hours look like. Thank you so much, Mr. Ali, for joining us this morning.